Good morning. I want to share with you today another approach to my photography style. I want to talk about how I focus, how I get nice sharp images. But before that, I want to focus on the upcoming sunrise. Hopefully it's going to be better than last week. I'll speak to you in just a minute. Onto the main subject of today's video though, and like I say, we're talking about focusing, we're talking about getting nice sharp images, because if you're not getting the latter, you're not going to be happy sharing your work. You don't want to get back to Lightroom, find you've got a blurry subject, all that hard work gone to waste. Like I say, for that reason, it's probably the most important part of capturing any shot really. Naturally, there are many ways that you can focus on a subject to get your final image. If you go on YouTube, there'll be videos telling you to do it this way, that way. If you want to be a pro, you've got to do it a certain way. At the end of the day, it's your approach, it's your style. You do it how you want. And I'm out here this morning showing you my style, how I do things. I also don't want to talk to you today about an approach I don't use, that I'm unfamiliar with, because I don't want to look stupid. That being said, the plan today is I'm going to head out and find 2 compositions, 2 shots, and I'll be talking you through, explaining how I focus on an image, because there's primarily 2 approaches that I use depending on the scenario that I'm in. Of course, there is the subject of a focus stacking. Now that's something I'm not going to discuss today. I feel that's a topic that requires its own video and is something I'll talk separately about in the future. It's the first image that we've come across, and it's this beautiful scene. I'm overlooking a bridge over the lake. I've got a lovely tree over to the left. Got to be careful of this bush here though. Make sure it doesn't intrude onto the scene in any way. I might have to do a bit of a panorama to make sure I get everything in the shot that I want to. But of course, we're talking focusing, we're not talking about compositions, we're not talking about the setting up of images. The first way I focus that I want to talk through today is probably the most basic, it's the most simple of the ones that I use. It's just simple, focusing in a neat section of the shot, and of course pressing the shutter. Now to do that, what I do is I press the recycling bin on the back of the camera. Now, of course, that can be used to delete images, but when I'm not reviewing images, that can be used to center the focusing box right dead center in the middle of the image. I then hold the shutter halfway down, and of course, once I've got the box illuminates in green, letting me know that the shot's in focus, I can press the rest of the way down on the shot, and that's the image captured. Like I say, it's nice and simple. Of course though, I don't need to have the focus box in the middle of the screen. It all depends on where my main subject is. If my main subject is the tree, I'll move the focus box over the tree, and again, it's a simple case of following those same steps. Of course, the main subject is the bridge, and I'm not bothered about anything else. I'll make sure that focus box is over on the subject in question, and that is the shot taken. And hopefully here's that first image to share now. Two quick things to add. Make sure you have that 2-second timer activated. Of course, you can get camera shake when you press down on that shutter. It is the easiest way to end up with a blurry image. And the second is, don't get too pent up on what your image looks like on the back of your camera when you take the shot. As I said last week, sometimes I just know it when I'm out on location. I know if I've got a good shot the moment I've taken it. Sometimes I don't realise until I get back to Lightroom. So final shot is where I'm standing and looking towards right now. But before I talk you through that composition, I want to talk to you about this location. This is somewhere that I've been beforehand. It's been a couple of years since I've been back here. And whenever I head out to a location, it's usually one of two categories. The first is, like I say, I've been here before. I know compositions. I've got a good idea of what I'm going at and what I'm looking for. The second type is where I've never been there before myself. I'm walking around blind. I haven't got a clue if I'm going to come across a composition. I haven't got a clue if I go and find anything. It's about exploring it, not just on my own, but taking you along with me. Now, where I'm standing now, this is a composition I grabbed a couple of years ago using my old camera, and I've always wanted to come back and see if I could capture it again, but better, and with all the skills and the knowledge that I've picked up since. So that's one of the reasons why I've chosen to come here. And now I want to talk to you about this second form of focusing, the second technique that I use, and it's a little bit more in depth and it's a little bit more of a fail-safe, because it's an image like this, it's a composition like this that I'm going out to capture. I want to make sure that when I get home I've done everything possible to make sure I get the shots perfect as I want it to, because this for me is the main image. This is the whole reason why I've come out here today. So to get home, get back to Lightroom, find a blurry shot, find it's all been a waste, that's unthinkable when it's with a shot like this one. So to walk you through the shot, we've got this bridge, simple bridge leading across the pond. The first composition I literally took just up on the hill over on the left. We've got this tree over in the distance. Now last time I came here, it was at the height of summer. We had a lot more leaves on the tree. So I'm looking at this shot this time and I'm a little bit disappointed we don't have the conditions that we did last time round. But it's the beauty when you come to a location at various different times of the year, you kind of experience all the seasons on offer. Today, this particular composition isn't perfect, but the location as a whole, awesome. It's a beautiful time to be here. Like I say, it's a nice simple shot. We've got the bridge acting as our leading line, leading us towards the tree. On the other end, we've got some beautiful yellows in the leaves still on the tree. And then we've got a few leaves that'll be finding their way into the shot over here on the left and over on the right. Now, focusing. That's the main reason we're here, isn't it? And I've done everything that I'd normally do. So for this shot, I've put the focusing box over on the tree. That's what I want in focus. But like I said just a minute ago, this is a shot where I want to make sure I do everything I can to make sure it's nice and sharp. The final image probably won't turn out completely sharp, but that's not the point. I don't want to head home with a blurry image. So to make sure I know that the focus is perfect, I'll hold down half on the shutter so I get that green box, and then I'll rotate the manual focus wheel at the front of my lens. And what that does, if I make sure I have focus clipped on, what that does, I then get access to the manual focus peaking on the front of the lens, and it will tell me on the live view, it will highlight in a colour, yellow, blue, red, just what is in focus. So I know doing it at the moment that pretty much everything is in focus, pretty much right up to the point as the bridge comes towards me, because then the bridge gets too close. So the closer parts of the bridge, they're not in focus. If I want those in focus too, I'd need to move the focus box, focus on those, and that's where focus stacking will come into effect. And like I say, that will be covered off in another video in the future. But like I say, it just allows me, I don't know if this is a feature that's available on Nikon or Sony or even older Canon lenses, but this, since upgrading to the Canon RP, and I'm guessing other Canon mirrorless cameras have the same function, this has been a game changer. Because for me, I've not got the best eyesight, so being able to see, have the live view telling me what's in focus and what isn't through the focus peaking, it helps me out so much. like I say, I can now tell what is in focus, and of course if I need to change it at any point, if I find there's a section that's not in focus when I need it to be, I can just move the focus box as I see fit, check it all over again. Yeah, that's still okay. Let's move it down into the foreground. Okay, the areas that weren't in focus are now better. Let's see, even if I need to change the aperture and I can get those closer sections of the shot in focus. Nope, doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But we've got, like I say, the focus box focused on the tree. We've got our 2-second timer activated. And there's the shot.